Good afternoon, or if you're in the Western time zones, good morning and a very warm welcome to this webinar. My name is Deepak Gianchandani, and I am a systems engineer at Unicom. I would also like to introduce you to my colleague, Glenn Havelock, who is also a systems engineer. We both also handle some of the support TechNet incidents for our USA customers on the various Unicom products. For those of you that are new to Unicom's Macro 4 division, we have been around since 1968 and are part of the Unicom global group of companies. The Macro 4 division provides document management solutions, of which legacy application decommissioning is one of the solutions. We also provide mainframe and mid-range systems management solutions. Before we move on, a little house rules just to let you know we are recording this webinar for replay and for those who ran into last-minute conflicts. We have muted the lines, but if you do have any questions, please use the chat box. That is the speech bubble icon within the on-screen menu at the bottom of the screen, third icon from the right. Also, please post your questions to all panelists from the pull-down option so both of us can view them. Glenn Havelock will assist and endeavor to answer any questions you may have while I'm presenting. And if we're not able to get to your questions, we will address them during the Q&A session, which is close to the end of the webinar. Also, during the Q&A session, if you are dialed into the phone bridge and prefer to ask questions via the phone audio, please let us know via chat that you have an audio question to ask, and then Glenn can unmute that individual. Also, you should be able to hear me over the computer speakers. If you are not, please feel free to dial into the conference bridge audio. That information was in the pop-up when you joined, or that dial-in information can be reshared if you select Communicate Audio Conference on top of the menu of your WebEx session. Please note this is a very quick webinar that should roughly last 20 minutes, much like a TED Talk. Welcome to our second webinar in a series of 3. All webinars are around how to tackle challenges of managing data in legacy applications. In our first webinar, we looked at the issues of compliance and business risk. In our next and final webinar, we will be looking at how we can increase business efficiency, including saving time and money. So today we are going to look at the issue of data security associated with having data and information stored in legacy systems. In terms of data security, some key issues may come to your attention or your team's attention. Help, our old application isn't GDPR or CCPA compliant, just to name 2. There are many other regulations that your company may be under, like for the medical field, it may be HIPAA, as there are too many regulations and too many regulatory bodies to mention, and that they are based on the industry, the main point being that the old application isn't current with the regulatory or security requirements. This is clearly a security issue as well as a business risk. Older or legacy systems are usually incompatible with modern security mechanisms such as multi-factor authentication. Certain security vulnerabilities may not be easy or even possible to resolve on older systems. In addition, any fixes or patches for legacy software might be delayed as it's usually less of a priority. In summary, there are many reasons to get rid of these non-compliant legacy applications while providing business continuity by maintaining access to the data while still ensuring that the data is secure, and that's where we come in. So today we're going to be talking about identifying applications that may put your business at security risk. How important is it to ensure your data is secure? Discuss a user case, and then giving practical tips on tackling the decommissioning challenge. Some content may be familiar for those that attended the last webinar, thus a refresher for those who could not attend, and it is as relevant to this topic around security as it was for the compliance the last time around. Let us start with a quote from Kevin McNick. He's the self-styled world's most famous hacker and now a security consultant. He says companies spend millions of dollars on firewalls, encryption, and secure access devices, yet none of these measures address the weakest link in the security chain, and that weakest link could be your legacy application. For those that attended the last webinar, this graphic will be familiar. For our newer attendees, the emphasis this time is around data security. There are many things to consider when thinking about data security associated with managing data properly, particularly if the data is held in legacy applications. You may be talking about some of these things in your business as in with your team members. We cannot enforce our data retention policies or meet the regulatory regulation to data security. For example, there is no way to map our security policies to the limited security features of the legacy application. It is not obvious who has access to what data within our older applications. I am not sure that the security with my legacy application enables us to meet the legal requirements of our industry sector. As we grow as an organization and our security needs change, how can our legacy systems meet these requirements? What if our physical security is not good enough? Our legacy applications do not encrypt data at rest. So in summary, there are many reasons to get rid of these problem legacy applications while providing business continuity by maintaining access to the data, and that's where we can assist your organization. Granular security and access control provide the highest level of protection for business information, and data privacy features can be used to limit the exposure of sensitive or personal data. If you have applications that don't allow for granular management and control of data within them, security is compromised, and control of your data could be at risk. Are you certain that your data is secure where it's stored right now? Continuing on the theme of security, if you're managing critical business data in an aging system, your data could be at significant risk of security threats. Are you struggling to enforce security policies around your data? Do you need to provide secure access to data currently held in an unsupported or legacy application? Do you wish you could move your data to a secure place and just get rid of the old application? Do your applications have the right level of security where you can control access to the data and sensitive information that can be managed appropriately? If not, you may find those applications are leaving your organization at risk, not to mention failing on compliance, for example, with the GDPR or CCPA and other similar industry regulations. We now like to talk about how one of our existing financial customers who decommissioned a legacy application following the acquisition of another financial organization. The customer had been a long-term user of Macroforce Columbus solution to initially store transactional output from their own financial systems along with incoming paper correspondence, which is scanned and stored in Columbus. The acquisition of the new financial company led to duplicate systems which contained data for a large number of customers and needed to be transferred to the new owning company. Our customers had planned to migrate the data to their own financial applications, which were more modern, and this raised data migration challenges. Discussions with the customer highlighted that data from the acquired company could be more easily achieved or archived into Columbus solution to sit alongside the existing transactional information it already stored. The customer was also then able to impose regulatory and internal security rules they required, for example, role-based security and integration with modern security technology. Our solution also enabled the management of sensitive information through the use of its redaction features and information lifecycle management to minimize data retention in line with GDPR. The customer also then went on to retire their own legacy systems based upon the ease in which the acquired applications were decommissioned. I'm going to open up a poll. Give me 30 seconds to find out, you as our potential customers may be facing some of these same challenges, and or what are you actually facing. So it'll take me 30 seconds to put up the poll, and then we'll give you a couple of minutes to answer the poll. Thanks for helping us out and understanding who we're presenting to. It really helps. So onto the deck, the presentation. So how do you tackle the challenges posed by keeping your legacy data secure? Well, start by identifying those apps that are no longer updated with live data. The easier ones to identify and start with could be duplicate applications, multiple instances of the same application, overlapping applications, different applications that handle the same business functions, and any non-essential applications. Consider the data. Decide whether the data should be migrated, deleted, or archived. Determine how the data is being used elsewhere in the business and if the data needs to be accessed by other applications within your organization. Make the business case to move the data to secure application or repository where you can impose the necessary access levels. Business users can easily access the data they need and in the format that makes most sense for them. You can ensure your data will conform to all the regulatory compliance requirements. You're no longer reliant on scarce IT skills to support and maintain the old applications, including its hardware and software, also called CapEx costs, and you know what the current application costs are, for example, maintenance, infrastructure, staffing, etc., which are some of the OpEx costs. So how can Unicom Macro 4 help your organization? Well, we have a great deal of experience in decommissioning a legacy application, and this combined with our Columbus technologies help migrate the legacy applications. Our Columbus solution has been designed to help companies like yours tackle the challenge of managing security around data held in legacy applications. The development roadmap for Columbus makes it a safe choice for today and into the future. Once you have moved your data into Columbus, you won't need to move it again. Our solution, which includes processes have been developed over a number of years, moves the data from multiple applications into a single secure repository. Columbus keeps your data accessible to support business processes, allowing the necessary security levels to be met, thereby helping you meet data compliance and reduce the business risk. If your organization is moving the on-premise applications to the cloud and some of these are static applications, consider moving and consolidating the data into Columbus, which, by the way, can also be run in the cloud. This saves money on application costs and infrastructure. All in all, this enables you to retire legacy applications. Does anyone have any questions? If so, please remember to use the chat icon that I mentioned at the start of the presentation. Glenn, I see we have a few questions.
Yes, Deepak, we do. And one of those is from Rich, who poses the question that you mentioned about decommissioning in the cloud, and could you please expand further on that?
Sure. Great question. So if you have multiple static applications and you're thinking of moving into the cloud, you can instead decommission them into Columbus and then move just Columbus as one application, one server, rather than having to move the multiple servers or systems that each one is hosting those individual applications. So therefore, you can reduce the cost and effort. By the way, we will be talking more about this in our next webinar in the series, which is in 3 weeks on August 25th. Hopefully I addressed that question. If I didn't, feel free to reach out to us and I can follow up. We'll share that email contact again at the end of this webinar. Next question, sir.
Okay, so Jennifer asked a question regarding MFA. She mentions we're looking at MFA or multi-factor authentication solutions, or two-factor authentication as some folks call it. How would one use this with Columbus?
Sure. So Columbus can be integrated with security assertion markup language, SAML as it's called in abbreviations, and it is, ID management solution. Combining the strengths of Columbus with the ID management solution that provides the multi-factor authentication solution. So we can integrate with SAML and other security-based models.
And Deepak, you have another question from, or an additional question from Peter, who asks, if we have multiple applications in Columbus, can we restrict access to who has access to each application?
Sure, yes. That is something that can be done through Columbus. Role-based security integrate with Active Directory and or LDAP, for example. I mentioned earlier SAML, capable ID management or authentication system. With that, for example, a group of users in an Active Directory is linked to a group in the Columbus security model, and that group in Columbus says, give access to users in application 1. So those users will only have access to application 1. For application 2, its users are linked to group 2 with, again, the Columbus security model, and then the second group is also linked to the Active Directory as well. So adding the correct users to the relevant Active Directory group will only provide access to the application that they are members of or entitled to. So there is a lot of flexibility. Again, the main thing being that the correct users are in the correct associated application group within the Active Directory, including that with authorized group of the application within Columbus as well. So sorry to take a little long on answering that, but I hope that addressed the question in reference to different users having different accesses for different applications. Again, feel free to send us an email if I was not able to address it, and we can follow up with one-on-one in reference to that. Anything else, Glenn?
I don't see any outstanding questions at this time, Deepak. I'd say you could likely move on.
Okay. Let me then go do that. Okay, so the key advantages from this session are: identify the applications that do not meet the necessary security requirements. Consider how the business uses the data and how it needs to be used going forward. Make the business case to move the data to a secure solution. If you are moving your data center to the cloud, don't move static legacy applications. Use Columbus instead with your cloud infrastructure. And again, that is the consolidation piece of it. Watch out for the information about our last webinar in the series of 3 webinars looking at tackling the data management challenges of legacy applications, increasing business efficiency, including saving time and money, on August 25th. And if you missed the first webinar on compliance and business risks, please send us an email and we'll provide the link for replay off of the YouTube channel. Thank you for attending this webinar. If you'd like to find out more, please email Russ Guzzo at unicomglobal.com. I don't see any more questions in chat, so I think I'm gonna call it a good afternoon for me. Glenn, any closing remarks from you, sir?
None other than thanks to everybody for attending, and we hope to see you on August 25th for the next webinar.
Yep, thank you for the poll as well.